Hi everyone, it's Joseph-Hawes from Planetgg, and today's subject is about depression. Now, on the whole, depression is a common mental health condition, and it affects over 280 million people globally. So why do we feel that there is still a stigma around talking about depression? It involves negative stereotypes, prejudice, discriminatively. People just behave so differently around people when they say they're depressed. Individuals are seen as weak, unreliable. So the condition is hidden, almost causes shame and secrecy that then gives barriers to allow that person to gain treatment. Public stigmas are, society often views depression as a weakness or a choice rather than a legitimate medical illness. And almost 50% of us believe that there's shame associated with it. If we're honest, our self-stigmas, the first that comes to my mind is the feelings of shame and worthlessness and the reluctance to seek help or adhere to treatment because of the negativity that you hold within. And some of the structural stigmas are, the systematic issues, including what kind of research, what kind of funding is there around mental health and depression? What is there to reach for to reinforce how we feel around the inequalities around this condition? And then lastly, the impact on lives. The reduced employment opportunities, the damage with relationships, the loss of life, the lack of understanding from friends, colleagues, family. That word, depression, holds so much, but yet still we are still a society that has so much to still learn about what to do when we're feeling it, when we have people around us who you can kind of recognize light symptoms and you want to reassure them. But again, that word, the stigma around it. So it's like, how do we overcome this? How do we be the change that we want to be in society? How do we look at, for instance, the education, increasing understanding around depression, talking about the medical condition and how to treat it. Openness, sharing experiences can break down barriers and reduce secrecy. It's not easy. But openness is a wonderful thing in regards to you finding out that you're not alone. And then challenging the stereotypes. Challenging, though, that kind of language of people saying things such as pull yourself together. Not allowing those kind of negative languages to happen. If you are struggling with these effects of stigma, it's important to speak to a mental health professional or a trusted friend or family member. Do not allow the stigma to hold you back and keep you contained. A lot of us feel that because it's not a physical pain, it's okay to carry on your day-to-day life with this. But the long-term effects have been reported that if it is untreated, chronic depression can lead to physical health issues. It can lead to strained relationships, poor job and school performance, and then also it can lead to loss of life and self-harm. So this podcast, although it is something that I feel we need to find a lot about, we need to hear a lot about, I wanted it to be as poignant as to let people know that things like stigma, things like the actual subject of depression needs to be talked about. We know what the perceived stigma around depression is. We know our own individual negative attitudes around that subject. So as much as people say, I don't want to share because of the stigma, we need to look within ourselves and understand, but what is our personal stigma? Why are we now fighting back and saying it's certainly not that? So let's remember to overcome this, educate, understand what depression actually is, openness, share experiences, break down those barriers, reduce the secrecy. And last but not least, if you are in the presence of hearing someone say, pull yourself together, and you know that that person is going through something, or they're saying it to you, don't allow that negative language. Don't allow it to pull you down to the point where you feel closed in and you can't share what you're going through. And above all, if you are struggling, please remember to reach out to a mental health professional or share with someone very dear and very close that you feel you can trust to share how you're feeling. And above all, remember you're not alone. 280 million people globally go through depression. But how many of them openly share that is exactly what they're going through? Take care.